the armed Indian
Okay,
Pakistani
all
army.
right.
And Pakistan.
We've all been waiting for a revolution against the Pakistani army for 80 years. It hasn't happened yet. But in the same breath, I will tell you that if you were sitting in November 1971 and being told that East Pakistan will cease to exist in a couple of weeks, you would have probably scoffed at that. But that happened. So, what Commander Diwan is saying, that if we are sitting here and somebody says, you know, Balochistan might break away, and we're going, no, no, come on, that's not going to happen. It can. It has happened before, not only in this part of the world, in many parts. Suddenly, it collapses. Suddenly, Saddam is gone. Suddenly, Assad is gone. Suddenly, Gaddafi is gone. Sudden changes do happen. So, can it happen internally? Yes, it can. Have we waited 80 years for it to happen, and has it happened? No. Can Pakistan implode? At some stage, yes. Is that tomorrow? Could be, I don't know. But in practical terms and in very real terms, and this is the conundrum of the decision. Let me get Air Marshal Kak back into this. Air Marshal Kak, you can argue it both ways in terms of larger strategy. One is to let this continue. Let them, we have a larger capacity in every respect, in fuel, in arms, in men, in weaponry, in technology. Let's keep at it, and they will run out. And the other says is that if it has to be done, it is best that Pakistan's war fighting capabilities be taken out in one fell swoop. Where do you land?
I have a narrative which is more deeply strategic in its orientation. I took part in 1971 war, including attacks of the kind which have been just described. Dhaka capture and creation of Bangladesh was not an objective of the political leadership at the highest level at that point of time. It was only to create a certain territory within East Pakistan so that Mukti Bahini could establish control and 10 million refugees which were on our side of the border could go back. That was the national politico-military objective in that war. I'm stating this purely because I admire your channel and I really found your remarks profound, that we must work our analyses from facts, not from emotions, not from jingoism. And I see unreal clownery going on in our social media at a time which is so critical for us. I come to the second point about dismemberment of Pakistan, whether it happens internally or we can aid that process. Once again, Pakistan's geopolitics and strategic location being what it is, I would venture the suggestion that Pakistan will be kept alive. It will be kept on an intravenous drip, if required, by China, its primary supporter, by Turkey, and even if push comes to shove, as J.D. Vance said only yesterday, that this war is going on and we are not. But fortunately, Macro Rubio was little more astute in speaking to Shahbaz Sharif and saying that he needs to exercise restraint and ensure that no civilian population is targeted. My fourth point, Rishabh, for your consideration and that of the viewers, is that war prolonged and extended is not in the interests of India as a superior country in this collaboration, in this configuration, because India has so much at stake. India is a great power virtually knocking at the doors of being a superpower. And why do we want to get dragged in a conflict in which objectives are not defined? It has been very well brought out by our panelists. And what was our objective? It was to punish. It was a punitive deterrence. Expression is punitive deterrence. This action on targeting terror infrastructure was not for Baisaran alone, but the entire range of terror activities that have happened over the last 25 years. But this punishment cannot translate when you have a nuclear overhang and you have an adventurous, semi-hardliner, jihadi army chief on the other side.
Okay.
It can translate into what in what in common parlance in Hindustani is called "Hum to doobenge sanam, tumko bhi le doobenge." Because in this kind of a warfare, there are vulnerabilities on both sides. We are much stronger on that. There is no two opinions. But we must not get it. Strategic
Okay.
objective
Yes.
should be to punish. We have punished. Now the diplomacy will come in. Iranian minister is here. Saudi Arabian minister is here. US and UK are doing their back channel work. NSAs are talking. I think your channel knows. The viewers know our NSA is in contact with the NSA of Pakistan. So much is now ready for diplomacy to plug in.
Okay.
And us to bring a halt
Okay.
to this.
It is a perfectly sound, and many people watching this conversation would find that perfectly sound to say that we have got better things to do than sit and fight Pakistan. For sure we have. And I promise you, we have to look at the semiconductors and our space things, and that's how we're going to win in the end. That's how the Americans won during the Cold War in the end. So that is the truth. But at the same time, you have to address two key concerns which have to be satisfied. Right now, as we speak, last night, it's not about the terrorism anymore. It is about the Pakistani capacity to attempt to target Indian cities. The fact that they have failed does not mean that they did not try. So they have a capacity to try to target Indian cities. No air missile defense system, no anti-drone system is ever going to be foolproof, not even the Iron Dome of the Israelis. So right now your first consideration has to be that either the Pakistanis are stopping themselves or being made to stop. Their ability to target your cities diminishes. That has to be the immediate priority. The second reasonable priority has to be that if you got into this to punish the terrorists, are those said terrorists or their leaders or their ideologues punished enough? You are not going to end terrorism in the world in the next couple of weeks by engaging in any operation with Pakistan. You will not end terrorism in Pakistan, but can you do enough damage that you can have terror-free years in our country? Because in the end, ladies and gentlemen, we can build the greatest country and the greatest economy. As one can argue that the United States built after the Second World War, they built a great city, they built 2 towers of 110 floors each looking over that great city. What was it worth? It was not worth the lives of the 3,500 people who died. Their penthouse offices became meaningless that day. So unless you and I can go for a picnic without being disrobed and then shot in the head, my nice tie and good watch and car and house at that point of time become meaningless to me and my family. So there are those considerations as well. It's not an easy call, because the contrarian view to what Air Marshal Kak has just told us is to say that many a time we have started, gone halfway and then walked away, and every time we've regretted it, that it was a mistake to stop Lieutenant General Cariappa from doing what he was about to do in making the Pakistani forces exit J&K at the very get-go in 48, that it was a mistake to hand over the POWs and sign the Shimla agreement, that it was a mistake to head over to Tashkent and sign a peace treaty. So that contrarian argument does exist. Now, thankfully, that tough decision is not being made by us right here sitting on this conversation, because it is a tough one. I am going to have to take a very short break. What happens is, if I spend too much time in studio, I don't get a chance to get on the